Hey everyone, it's Thomas here. I have Russ here. Russ dropped by because he wanted to pick up something from me, and he owns a pair of Zoo 30 Weekend. So he wanted to listen to my omens. So that I say sure, I set it up, let him listen to it, and then I thought to myself, you know what? This is somebody who appreciates the Zoo sound. And if for of you who have seen my video, you know how I describe it with the A curve and so forth, then it stands to reason that he would be able to appreciate the Omega speakers.
Well, thanks for having me. I wasn't expecting to be on your channel, but that's super cool to ask me to do that. So I own a Class A system, so I have just tube amplification. I have a pair of Klipsch Heresy 3s and Zoo Dirty Weekends.
Yeah, yeah.
The amp is from Unison Research. It's the Simply Italy.
Okay.
And yeah, I only play vinyl, so I have a VPI Traveler turntable with a Soundsmith cartridge.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Oh, okay. I lie a little bit. I stream from time to time. I do have a DAC, but only like late at night when I'm tired of getting up to change the record.
So yeah, Russ was not expecting to be on camera today, right? I
Yeah.
just show up. I say you want to.
Well, I wasn't even expecting to meet you actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I've watched a lot of your videos, but and like I told you, I knew you were in Canada, but I didn't know we were in the same town. So yeah, it's just a coincidence, but super cool.
So the Omega, if you look at it, look at the driver, it looks like the Zoo. These are single full range paper cone drivers, and in the Zoo video, I noticed that some people don't believe that I like Zoo speakers. But no, I actually do like that kind of sound. It's because I listen to a lot of kind of different speaker. After a while, you develop a taste for everything, right? It's like, I eat only Chinese food, but then I start eating French food, Italian food. After a while, you develop this taste for everything. So I also like full range drivers like this kind of speaker. So that's why I bought these Omega. And it's great, Russ, when you dropped by today. We did some serious testing, and I really am blown away by these speakers, provided you like that A curve, right? So Russ, why don't you tell me what you heard today with these speakers?
Well, I would say I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I wasn't expecting to listen to them. So thanks for that. It's not often that at least in my experience, you don't see a lot of people listening to, it's a small subset of the audiophile community that likes this type of speaker. Yeah. So I don't have a lot of friends that have these type of speakers. So to see another paper cone driver was really nice, and these are really a treat. So I thought they had a lot of good textural detail and very coherent.
What do you mean by textural detail? Is it at the top end, bottom end, mid range, right?
No, it's in the mid range. So I mean, I think that's where these type of speakers really talk to people is in the mid range, especially the Omegas. The Zoo's a little bit more, in the high end, but they have tweeter. So
yeah, the Zoo has super tweeter,
yeah.
So they sparkle better on top. Yeah. But when it comes to the mid range,
yeah, these are like hearing guitar strings being plucked or other details like that, like echoes from the microphone or things like that were really accentuated more with the Omegas. And that's what was really eye-opening to me was that. And then also the one track we listened to with the deep baritone, like you could really like hear like something more in the depth of his voice than with the others.
Correct. And we also took out some regular speakers, and we can hear a big difference, right? It's like we just forget that. Yeah. Let's just go back to this. But of course, it's because we're playing tracks that are more vocal-centric.
I think something to be said is that there is a certain type of music that speakers like these really excel at. I don't think if you're trying to listen to every genre from top to bottom that you're going to be happy with these, but if you like hard rock or good vocals or jazz or straightforward instrumentation live music, you're going to be more than happy.
Yeah, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on the straightforward instrumentation, because we heard this song Battery
Yeah.
from
Rodrigo and Gabriela. So it's only two guitars.
okay.
So it's a very quick song, very fast, good for testing speed. And it's very easy for these speakers to bring those guitars to life. And the same for jazz. You've only got four instruments, but
Okay.
we listen to some symphonic tracks, and for me, there's so many instruments that I'm a bit lost. Whereas with those more straightforward tracks, the speaker like really shines.
Yeah, like the vibration of the
Yeah.
guitar is like you can hear it. It's incredible. Now, when we talk about symphonic tracks, because you have a lot of instruments, right? You can hear the instruments. It's just that you can't separate them like a ribbon tweeter where you can take a pencil and draw around the person. But you can hear each instrument
You can.
clearly, right? So we listened to this track, My Rock.
Yeah, it's an a cappella song. Yeah.
Okay, tell me about it then.
So it's four guys singing, and what you have a baritone, you have a tenor, and a soprano, and the speakers were very good at separation in that actually. Not the same, not like drawing a pencil around them, but clearly defining. Okay, this the baritone's voice does not blend into the tenor's voice, for example.
Yeah.
So they were very good at that type of separation, and at the same time. The soprano's voice, for example, was very focused. I didn't feel like, for example, with the zoos, because it has a crossover for the super tweeter. I feel a bit more of that separation in his voice in the really high octaves, whereas with the Omegas, I feel like it does a good job of keeping the voice together, I would say.
It's more coherent.
Yeah, more coherent. It's interesting when you listen to a song and you hear something new in the song that you never experienced before.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say that like it just brought like the depth of his voice more to life than I'd ever heard before. Yeah. So for example, like some of the like the deeper notes of the baritone, you could almost hear like his voice resonating inside of his chest, which
Right.
is something like I've never really experienced in that song before.
So this is, I really wanted to stress on that because that really is the strength of these Omega. And this is coming from somebody who has zoo at home, right? But of course, like all speakers, there's a lot of good stuff. There's also the caviar, and that is, it has the same, as I say, A-shaped curve, right? And for us, we need the subs. It's still okay without the sub if you never heard it with the subs. Yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah, right. This problem is once we put the subs on,
You can't take them away.
yeah, that's it. You can't go back. Tell me, let's talk about the rail subs a little bit. How do you feel? Were they able to keep up with the speed of this? And
Yeah, they really did. They kept up well. They blended in as they should. They didn't stand out. But they did add, the depth that these speakers really lack. And you really, like you said, once you have it, you can't go back because you realize sort of what's missing. And as I told you, I wouldn't really say that about the zoos. I feel that they have a little bit more bass extension, and when we took the subs away, I wasn't like, oh, what happened? Quite as much as with the Omegas.
with orchestra, it doesn't do as well, I would say.
No, I would agree. It didn't do badly, obviously, but I don't think it's its strong suit. You definitely hear all of the instruments, but it lacks in separation. Obviously there's no super tweeter or anything, so that's to be expected. And I just don't think that they're at this price range, this type of speaker for what you're paying, you're not going to get a speaker that does all of those things. So if you're into a certain type of music, you're going to be very happy. But if you're trying to listen to everything, it's probably not where you want to invest your money.
That's a big port.
That's another question that I had, talking about, the lower bass extension. Not only that the zoos have larger cabinets, but they're bottom ported. So it just makes me wonder, how that affects the sound signature, and if that's maybe the reason that I didn't miss the sub as much.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a good question, right? Because once I put the Omega close to the wall, I'm going to get that base reinforcement
Yeah,
from the wall.
yeah,
And
and you're
maybe,
getting it from the floor with the
so,
zoos. So
right, Zoo's already getting what they
yeah,
need from the floor, right?
right.
But these haven't got them from the wall yet.
Yeah.
So maybe by putting close to the wall, we don't need the subs. We don't know that. That we don't know. Because we're so blown away by the mid-range, we didn't care anymore, man.
Well, and
So,
that's like my clipped heresies. You know, you put those close to the wall, and you have all the bass that you want.
okay,
Yeah.
I see.
So it could be a very good test to do for these.
Right, because 30 Weekend at your place, you said that there's no problem with
No,
bass.
yeah,
Right? So
no,
it's room dependent.
yeah,
So we complain about the A curve, but in reality, maybe it's not true.
yeah,
At your place, you don't have that problem, right?
yeah.
So given the fact that we keep focusing on mid-range, I'm sure some of you will be asking, then how does it compare to the king of mid-range, Harbeth? Now, we don't have a Harbeth here to go A/B test, and I heard the 30.2 before. I had the P3 ESR. So we're just going to take an educated guess, given the fact that you heard Harbeth before too, right?
Yes.
So what do you think the difference is?
Well, the Harbeths are much warmer. I
Warm,
mean,
yeah.
right off the bat, that's the first thing I would say is they're warmer. These are going to be much more alive, much more in your face than a Harbeth.
True. When we talk about Harbeth, we think about relaxing, taking a glass of wine out, right?
Yeah.
These are not like that, man. You don't relax with these
No,
speakers, right? You're all pumped up listening to these speakers, especially that horn design type, that energy that projects out. It can get very shouty, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. Both models, not just the Omegas, but we noticed that from both the Omegas and the Zoos could
Right.
get shouty.
As I say, shouty is not necessarily bad. Some people like that energy, that rock concert feeling, right? All right, so we're gonna wrap up the video. So Omega, do you like it?
I do like it. I do like it very much.
A scale 1 to 10.
I would say 8.
Okay, so
Yeah.
enough that you would be
Yeah.
interested to take them home if you have the money in your pocket right now
Yes.
to try, right?
Yeah.
So, do you find it better than the Zoo or not?
I wouldn't say better.
Okay.
All things considered, everything that we've said, they both have pros and cons that put them on the same level.
Okay.
Okay. These have a bit more detail in the mid-range,
Correct.
but they're sub-dependent. So the Zoos are a little less textural in the mid-range, but less in need of the subs.
Correct.
So I think once we combine all of those two factors together, they're definitely on the same level, on the same playing field.
Correct. And also, not to mention, we didn't try with tube amps, right? We didn't spend hours and days trying them. And the point here being is that Omega speakers are worth your time. I think that's the takeaway, right? Forget what we say about this versus Zoo. It's just that there are other options out there, other choices, right? We agree that's...
Yeah, I think Zoo gets a lot of attention for what they're doing, for that Zoo sound, and I mean it's deserved. But like you said, there's other options out there, and even me, I was not expecting to hear them, and here I am.
So yeah, one thing I try to do is try to find all those gems out there, little things that people don't know about. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and Omega, there's almost like a cult following, and if you read on the forums. So that's why I wanted to make a video. I bought it just to let people know there's such a brand, and they're absolutely worth your time. All right, thanks, Russ.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. So Russ is gone, and I just want to add, single full range drivers. If you Google on the internet, you'll see that there's a group of people who really appreciate them. Now, single full range drivers are not for everyone compared to regular speakers, and I've owned about 60 pair of speakers now, more even. They do sound different. In fact, the first time when I heard the Omega at my place, I was disappointed. The original owner sold it to me after only spending a few hours with it. It just didn't work for him. But for me, I wasn't concerned when he told me that, because I heard Omega set up properly in a full tube system, and it sounded fantastic. So a lot of times when I get speakers from people and they tell me that it's really not their taste, for me it's good because I get them at heavily discounted price. I have this confidence where I can make a lot of speakers sound good. a lot of times it's just the setup that's the problem. So once I got a better stand for it, and then you match it with the right front end and the right type of song, that's where it sounded fantastic. But I do recognize this is really not for everyone, especially if you're used to if you play rap, I don't know, EDM kind of music. Yeah, these are not for you. But if you're really into voice and you want a different take on it than Harbeth speakers, these are fantastic. So that's why I would say these are the kind of speaker that you should audition it before you buy it. It's not the kind of speaker I would recommend buying blind. Because it's very unique, their sound. They can be a little bit shouty. Just make sure you break them in. I had the Omega T2SR before. That one I wasn't a big fan of, but this one, the RS8, I'm a big fan of. So another thing I really want to emphasize on is that the speed on the Omega is insane. It's really fast, and that's after owning a lot of speakers. So if you play tracks that require a lot of speed, man, these will blow you away. For me, because I don't listen to these kind of speaker often, I listen to the regular speakers. So every time when I bring these out, I'm very impressed with how fast they are. So I think, yeah, that's it then. Okay, till next time.